Hello, 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 and welcome back to Purple and Gold Zone episode number 12. Obviously, doing way better than the last episode with not taking 2 months off in between. We can't take 2 months off. I mean, we are in the most exciting time for basketball now, actually. And yes, the Lakers are actually going to be in the postseason. Currently, that is only the plan, but still, that is way better than last season. I will absolutely take that. Gonna talk about that a little bit later, but we got some other stuff to get to first, specifically covering their final game and just kind of the season wrap up as a whole. Before we get into that, though, I do want to shout out to my other show, the Connor and Heffernan Show. You can find the Connor and Heffernan Show on the same YouTube channel as Purple and Gold Zone, or you can find it on Spotify under the Connor and Heffernan Show. This next week we are doing a new episode. We've taken about 2 weeks off, but this Saturday we should be dropping a new episode, and it's going to cover OBJ to the Ravens. It's going to cover the MLB season starting up. It's going to cover the NBA playoffs. We're going to do a lot of different things. NHL hockey is heating up. So make sure to tune in Saturday to the Connor and Heffernan Show, because we will have a new episode out. But that's enough of that. No more of that. No more of anything else. As always, there's only one thing I want to talk about. Purple and gold. Let's go, baby. We're going to start by looking at the Los Angeles Lakers' final regular season game, which they played versus the Utah Jazz on the 9th of April. Lakers ended up winning 128-117, ending the season 43-39. I believe that is what I predicted they would finish. The game that they dropped that I thought they would not drop was against the Clippers, and the game that I thought they would drop that they did not drop was against the Suns. Obviously, Kevin Durant and those stars were resting, but still, 43-39, great way to finish. But what I am most happy about is the last game itself. The Lakers played incredibly consistent basketball, and they were the most offensively productive team that I've seen them be maybe all year. They were extremely productive. They were working the ball around, and the best part of all of it was we saw some really nice threes from more than just one guy. We didn't just see threes from Malik Beasley. We saw a couple of different players hitting threes. Specifically, a Mr. LeBron James hit 3 threes back-to-back. It was fluent. He just kept hitting them. I mean, it was just... He looked like a shooter. LeBron never looks like a three-point shooter, but he looked like a three-point shooter last night. And the whole team as a whole just played incredible basketball. And it goes on both sides of the ball. Anthony Davis did a really great job locking down on defense, and they did a really great job of also being aggressive on offense. They weren't just aggressive on defense, they were also really aggressive on offense. And that is the only way you can win in the league nowadays, is if you're aggressive and if you play fast-paced enough. Obviously, the Utah Jazz were out of play-in or playoff contention for this game, but of course, why wouldn't you want to go out on a high note? This is the team that no one thought was going to win even 27 games, and they ended 37-45. So I feel like this was not a giveaway game at all. The Jazz were absolutely aware of what this meant if they beat the Lakers. Had the Jazz beat the Lakers would be the 8th seed and would not have home court advantage. So I don't think, even though the season was over, I don't think we saw the Jazz step off the gas one time. The Jazz played incredibly solid basketball last night and pushed us all the way to the end, and we need that. We need teams to push us. We need to be battle-tested, and I think we are. Honestly, last night's game really, to me, made me feel like we're the most battle-tested we've been since maybe the bubble. And that's a big statement, but again, the speed of the game and the inclusiveness and everybody getting touches was just huge. That was one of the best Lakers games I have seen in a long time. And the Jazz are no slouch, like I just said. I mean, that's a team that very easily could have beat us. They just recently almost beat us in that overtime game. So the Utah Jazz are very much alive and very much a solid program and team. So I feel like this was a big win, and this was a statement win for the Lakers, because obviously going into the play-in, you want to have some momentum, and I feel like this was that momentum booster. You always know about those teams that might have a slow regular season, but they get that momentum boost in the end, and then that's that. They're ready, and I think that's what the Lakers did. I think this was their momentum boosting game. They've had quite a few of those lately too. Honestly, this Lakers team has been playing better and better every single game. They're all on the floor together. When LeBron, AD, and D'Lo are on the floor together, that is a really solid trio. I'm not going to say that's a, super team three-headed monster, but it's definitely one of the more solid lineups that we see. And I just think that we're seeing consistency, which is something we have not been able to say as Lakers fans for quite some time. And honestly, one of the biggest factors in all of this was that trade deadline. We would not be where we are right now without that trade deadline. So I've got to give a shout out to Pelinka and to Jeannie Buss, because they both were a very crucial part of making this happen and getting us out from under the cloud of Westbrook. And now we have a team that looks battle-tested and looks ready, and I truly think this team is going to use this momentum win against the Jazz, bring that into the play-in, and just keep building. This team has the makings of being a deep playoff run team as long as injuries are not in the question or anything else. And when it's the Lakers, injuries are always in the question. So the Lakers honestly are poised to have a pretty deep playoff run potentially with the team they have now. But again, like I said, this was not how the season went the whole season. As a matter of fact, most of the season was not that enjoyable. So we're going to do a little overview and look back at the good moments and the very many more bad moments during this last regular season. We're going to do a little overview of the season / a little bit of a grade, a little bit of a letter grade to talk about, honestly, just where the season truly ended up for the Los Angeles Lakers. So, I mean, I'm going to be honest, back in October, November, and even December, I wasn't sure if we were even going to make the play-in. If you can even believe it, the Los Angeles Lakers, the purple and gold, the 17-time NBA champions, started the season 6-14. First 20 games, they were 6-14, dropping games to the Timberwolves, multiple games to the Jazz, dropping games they should not have been dropping. And that started right off the bat at the beginning of the season. And that was the first sign that this great team, this structured team where they keep Westbrook but still win, it was very obvious it wasn't going to work. Not even close. I mean, it's very obvious. The 6-14 proved it right then and there. We were dropping games we shouldn't have been dropping, such as even the Pacers. We shouldn't have dropped the game to the Pacers. We shouldn't have lost to the Raptors or the Cavs. I mean, these are teams that we should not have been losing against, and these are all from like October to December. These are all games that we were losing and games that we were not being able to show up enough to actually win. The biggest problem this team had was the third. We'd always come out of halftime dead, and that would be the biggest problem. I will say the team started some games decently. Some of those losses were started decently, but this team would just lose it all after the half, and it would just be like a whole different team coming out. So I don't really think that we can blame the roster woes 100% on where the Lakers were, but at the same time, I mean, Juan Toscano-Anderson barely did anything. He got his laps in for us. Patrick Beverley barely did anything other than a couple of trolling moments, but that's just Pat Bev. If Pat Bev was an international basketball player playing overseas, he would still be trolling. That's just who he is. Pat Bev didn't do anything for us. You know, I was really confident with Damian Jones. I thought that was going to be that backup and that was going to be that guy, and unfortunately, he did not end up being that guy in the slightest. So I just think that there's pieces that were just running laps. There's pieces that didn't fit the vision and fit the future of the Lakers. And you can't expect to be a successful team when you don't have the right pieces. When you don't have the right fit, you cannot expect to have the right team. And I've been on LeBron James for just even entertaining the Russell Westbrook idea, but it was not his fault, the place the Lakers were at this last season. I was still a little frustrated with him, but it wasn't LeBron's fault. It wasn't Anthony Davis's fault. It wasn't any of their faults. We always have to look at the front office, and the front office has made extremely questionable choices since the championship. But what I will say is this. Trade deadline came, and everything changed. We were a completely different team after trade deadline. First half of the year, we were like that team in the West where everyone was like, wait, is LeBron really on that team? Is Anthony Davis really on that team? Because they're not playing like it. That's who we were. We're not them anymore. We came out against the Jazz, and the Jazz, like I said, yeah, they were a little shorthanded, but they did not want us to get that 7th seed. Any chance to bump us down, the Jazz were going to take it, and they fought really hard. So that's the biggest change, is that this team knows how to fight hard too. This new Lakers team knows how to fight hard. They know how to shoot better. They know how to defend better. It really is a night and day difference. So when we talk about this season, it's almost like it's two completely different seasons. The first half, even into the second half, of just losses and missed shots, missed threes, terrible losses, terrible opponents that we're losing to that we shouldn't lose to. It went from that to locking ourselves in the play-in before the season was even done. What I liked most was the Los Angeles Lakers locked themselves into the play-in. They didn't have to fight for the play-in spot like last two games. They were already locked into at least being 10th within the last week. I really like that. We have not had that level of security That level of security has been gone. Even the year we made the playoffs and lost to Phoenix in round 1, I feel a lot more confident in this team than I did in that team. And I just think we have a lot more youth on this team and a lot more competitive drive, and I think you can see that because these guys want to win. This is a team that wants to win, and it shows every time they step on the court. So first half of the season was just ridiculous. I mean, every single episode I felt like I was like, well, maybe we'll get to 500 next time or next time or next time. We didn't get to 500 until the month of March. We didn't reach 500 until the month of March, but now we have one of the better records in the West. I mean, we're only a couple of games behind third. We're only 5 games behind third right now. And of course the season is done. Everything's all said and done. The regular season, that's all she wrote, boys. But still, we finished the season 43-39 on an 8-2 win streak in our last 10 games and a 2 win streak back-to-back. The Lakers look good. They've had statement games. They've had big performances. They still do not look like a contender. I'm going to say this right now. I do not have them winning the championship this season, but I do have them making a deep playoff run, and if they come out in the play-in, fighting and doing what I think they can, that might change my mind on where they could end up. But right now, I think they're definitely going to find themselves in the actual playoffs. And I think we're going to see some very exciting basketball. Because like I said, this team they have now is very much solid and just kind of an overall team. This is an overall threat. Unlike just before when we just had LeBron James as a threat when he's there. Anthony Davis is a threat when he's healthy. Now the whole team is a threat. And you're looking at Reeves and his speed and his offensive productivity. And you're looking at Schroeder and his offensive productivity and his aggressiveness. And you look at Beasley's shooting and D'Angelo Russell's ball movement and his shooting. I mean, I'm saying all of these things that we have not been able to say or see since right after the bubble. Seriously, I don't know if we've seen this level of consistency from a Los Angeles Lakers team since the bubble, but if we have, it was just that season after when we got Harrell and Marc Gasol. We had all of those players. And it was like we still couldn't get it done. We had better players, arguably, than what we have now. Marc Gasol is a way better center than some of the guys we have now. I'm just going to say that right here and right now. Carmelo Anthony from last year is a way better shooter than some of the shooters we have now. But the key to being a successful basketball team is you have to have a successful basketball team. It's not one player. It's not 2 players. It has to be a whole team. We have not seen the Lakers have an entire team around LeBron and AD. See, that goes a long way because even the season right after the bubble, we had a better team than we had last season or at the start of this season, but we still didn't have an entire team around the Lakers, and we did not have shooters. We finally have shooters, and we don't just have one shooter. I mean, before we had Danny Green on that championship run, and I feel like they were like, okay, we got Danny Green, that's good. We got one shooter, that's all we need. Give LeBron one shooter. That's not how this league works. You have to have more than one shooter nowadays. You're not going to win basketball games if you only have one shooter, and even when we did have Danny Green, I don't know if someone was paying him to miss threes or what, but he was playing like he was throwing games on purpose. So, we haven't had solid three-point shooting. We haven't had any of these pieces until now. So, as much as the beginning of the season was a downer and was really depressing and made me feel like, man, maybe I do need to switch teams. I'm just playing. But no, it felt very... It was just a downer, man. It was just a huge downer. I was like, this is not the Los Angeles Lakers team that I know is still there. So, I feel like the roster shakeup and getting out from under the cloud of Westbrook, which again, I will say this again, and I will say this again and again and again and again and again. Russell Westbrook was not the problem with the Lakers. He just was not a solution. Moving on from him was a solution, but that does not mean that he was the problem. So I don't think he was the problem, but getting out from under that cloud of his contract and just in general was huge. And I think we just were finally able to just go. We were just able to just go at that point. We had Russell, we had Vanderbilt. I mean, the players we have picked up have been a key factor, if not the key factor, in our success. But speaking of players we picked up, the Lakers just signed 2 new players ahead of the playoffs. So let's go into that. Let's go into who they are and how those signings are. But before we go into that, if I had to give a letter grade to this season, good Lord, that's tough. It's very tough because the first, from October to February would be an F. It'd be a straight up F. Because even when we would, win games somehow, AD was in and out, LeBron was in and out, and we didn't have consistency at all. So I mean, I've got to give us an F for the first half of the season. And unfortunately, we really didn't start picking up and gaining that traction until March. So basically, I'm giving from October to February an F, and I'm giving from end of February / early March to now, I'm going to give that a B. Combine those together, and I would say that the Los Angeles Lakers season as a whole, their regular season, was a C. I'd give it a C. I can't go plus, especially because, I mean, I just said they had an F for over half of the season. So I'm good giving them a C, though, because I do think that where they are now is great. They've got to continue that momentum. They've got to bring the players back that have helped them be successful, and they've got to look at this the right way. This offseason might be one of the most important offseasons the Lakers have had, because now we really might have something to build off of. So I got to give them a C, but looking back to the present day, let's talk about the two new Los Angeles Lakers. So we're going to look at Shaquille Harrison first. Shaquille Harrison has been in the league for a little while. He's currently 29 years old, but still he's on the younger side. He just finished up a stint with the Portland Trail Blazers, and on that team this season, he was 8.8 points per game, 4.4 rebounds per game, 6 assists, 2.2 steals, 0.4 blocks on 30% field goal percentage in 24 minutes. Now, first I want to say this. His minutes are obviously going to decrease on the Lakers. The Lakers have a good amount of depth in the guard position, but he is going to add something that the guards on the Lakers don't exactly have right now. Yes, they're decently in-your-face aggressive, not terrible at defense, but Shaquille Harrison is a guard that is known for his defense. That is what made him so great, and that is why he keeps getting looks from teams, because what he offers on the defensive side. And when I look at the West, we need a guard that specializes in defense, whether that's off the bench or starting. I don't see him starting, but if we can utilize him off the bench, this might be one of the best pickups we've made this season, because he also is very aggressive on the offensive side. Just like I've said with Schroeder is. Schroeder will attack that basket no matter what. He will attack that basket like a chicken with its head cut off. He will just keep going, like he can't even see what's in front of him. He's just going. He just knows where to go. This guy's the same way. Shaquille Harrison is aggressive on offense, conservative as well with his passes. When he does move the ball around, people don't realize this, but he can also move the ball around extremely well, i.e. those 6 assists per game. So Shaquille Harrison is a huge pickup for us. I am extremely pleased that we picked him up. And again, his minutes will obviously decrease, but I don't think his productivity will decrease. I think we will see those bursts of him just showing up and showing out, no matter when that is, how long that is. He is going to be a factor. And I'm the most excited to see his defensive stature come into play, because that is something we have not seen to his extent. So we're now going to take a look at the other player the Lakers signed, which is Tristan Thompson. So first and foremost, Tristan Thompson is a vet. He's been around the league. He's been in the league for a minute. He's won a championship with LeBron. He's competed for more championships with Bron. That's huge. I think that the chemistry and just having a player that has been a legacy player with LeBron, a player that has won a chip, because Tristan Thompson was a big part of that championship winning team. People forget just how dominant Tristan Thompson was. I mean, he really was a key element in that team. And that last season that LeBron had with the Cavs, Tristan Thompson was averaging a double-double. He had one of his best seasons, his last season that he played with LeBron. So I would say that, honestly, Tristan Thompson, while his numbers have gone down slightly the last few years and he's kind of bounced around to teams, I think he's the perfect pickup for the Lakers. The Lakers did this right. This is a formula that the Lakers nailed. You have your superstar center with AD. You have your young talented centers and forwards with the guys they already have. And then you add a vet like Tristan Thompson. That is the perfect setup for this Lakers team. I mean, perfect going into the playoffs, especially at that position. If you want to win in the 2022-23 playoffs, you have to have two things: plenty of three-point shooters and plenty of big men that are going to be out there grabbing the boards, making a difference, because that is going to be the difference maker in a lot of these games. So picking up Tristan Thompson, I'm super pleased. I think he's going to be a great player. He's not going to be that double-double machine he was, but he is going to be a key piece off the bench, and just his... I'm honestly extremely pleased with those pickups we got. I think that it's going to deepen our team more than we even fully can see right now. Like, I'm looking at this like, yeah, these are great pickups, but I think that these two players could deepen that team even more and make it even more of a force. You know what I'm saying? I think that, and I'm hoping that we see both of them suit up. I think the plan is for them both to suit up against the Timberwolves, and that is going to be really, really good. We can get them that game before the playoffs, because the play-in is the play-in. It's not the playoffs. It's postseason, but it's not the playoffs. Get them that one game. Let them figure the system out. Let them figure the Lakers out, and then we'll go into round one ready to kick some butt. I mean, that's honestly, I truly think that those two players are going to be difference makers, and I could not be more excited. But take a deep breath. I gotta slow down a little bit. The play-in tournament starts tomorrow, Tuesday, April 11th at, I believe it's 9 p.m. Central, but it's 4 p.m. Yeah. 4 p.m. for me because I'm in Hawaii, so it's 9. So yeah, 4 p.m. For me, the Lakers take on the Minnesota Timberwolves for that 7th, 8th play-in tournament game. So I just want to kind of go over that game and then talk about round one. We're not going to go beyond that because honestly, we can't go beyond that with how inconsistent the Lakers were, and the fact that I just don't really want to be like, oh yeah, we're going to do this, this, and this. I don't want to do that. We're going to only talk about the play-in and then round one. But I do want you guys to know that I will be kind of trying to do episodes a lot quicker throughout the playoffs so I can get a lot of the action. They might be shorter episodes. They might be different looking episodes, but we're in the playoffs time. So announcing the next segment, obviously talking about Lakers play-in and round one, but also make sure you guys are keeping up to date. Hit that bell, subscribe if you haven't, because we're going to be live. We're going to be going the whole playoffs till the Lakers are out. So make sure you are ready for that, because oh my goodness, I am. We were not in the playoffs last year. We didn't even make the play-in last year, and I missed it so much. Whoa, let's go. I'm hype. But let's talk about the play-in first. Looking at our play-in situation, we play the Minnesota Timberwolves, and here's the thing. The Timberwolves won the regular season series. We only won one game versus them, but that one game was that March 31st victory, that 123 to 111 victory, where we really, really looked solid. We really looked like a really good basketball team that was ready for teams that are above the level that the Timberwolves are at. Timberwolves fought, they stayed in the game, but we were in the driver's seat the whole time. There was not a single moment in that game where I didn't feel like we were in control. AD went up and said, I'm the best player from Kentucky. I'm the best big man, and went down with an injury and came back in. And it was a really exciting game. It was a really, really exciting game. So honestly, I will say this. The Timberwolves are not a bad team in the slightest. I mean, they've survived. They're still in they're in the play-in. The Dallas Mavericks can't say that. Pacers can't say that. There's a lot of teams that can't say that maybe would have earlier in the season, but the Timberwolves are still here. But here's what I'll say about them. An unfortunate thing happened in their last regular season game. Rudy Gobert punched Kyle Anderson, and now he is suspended. Rudy Gobert was arguing with Kyle Anderson. They were going back and forth, and Kyle Anderson was basically like, can you just block some shots? Why aren't you blocking shots? And I will admit, that is what he is quote-unquote known for. I don't really think that Rudy Gobert is that good. I think he's overrated. I think he's extremely overrated. I don't think he's earned any of those Defensive Player of the Year awards. Now, here's what I'm going to say. Not earned, but deserved. Excuse me. He earned them. He absolutely earned them with the stats he put up, but I don't think he deserved to be the player that won it as many times, or in my opinion, at all. So I've never been a Rudy Gobert guy, and ever since he went to the Timberwolves, I was like, this is either his chance to show us who he really is, and like show us like if he really is that Defensive Player of the Year and if he really did deserve it, or is he a fraud? And 1.4 blocks per game with the Timberwolves is not that good. Cat doesn't provide any defense, as we already know. So it doesn't look great. It doesn't look great even when he's in. He's not anything super special, but he does provide some help, and he would definitely be a factor in slowing Anthony Davis down. Another player that is out for the Timberwolves that's unrelated to the punch, well, actually, it is a punch, but it's a different one. Jaden McDaniels did a little punching of his own, and he punched something, I don't know what it was, if it was the wall or what, going into halftime, and he fractured his hand and is out. That's really unfortunate. I honestly like watching McDaniels play. I think he was a really big factor in the Timberwolves staying alive as long as they did this last season. He had a really, really, really good season, and he honestly is one of those younger players on the Timberwolves that has kept them alive and kept them going. He's been around for 3 seasons with them, and he's seen a lot of different changes. A lot of players have come in and out, and you know what? He's been a player that's been consistent and has really grown as a Timberwolf. So I think that he was going to be a huge factor, and defensively especially. Defensively, he was going to be, because again, Cat is not defensive. Anthony Edwards is not awful, but he's not the best defensive player. So McDaniels was going to be that key piece, and now both of your top-end defensive players that are looked at as some of the more defensive players on your team are both out against the Lakers, who are on a roll, I might add. The Los Angeles Lakers have been cooking it. They're 8-2 in their last 10 games, and they finally looked like that team they were supposed to look like. So this is not the right time for a weakened team that is missing certain key players to go up against the Lakers, because the Lakers are hungry and the Lakers are ready for this. This is a team that the Lakers are going to be able to eat up, because McDaniels is out, Gobert is out. Cat is great. Cat has put up some good performances. Obviously, he came back, he had the injury stuff, all that, whatever, I get it. But Cat does not match up well against AD. You needed Gobert. You needed McDaniels to cause some drama. You needed these players to cause an issue, and they're all out. They're not in. So it's really up to one guy now. It's really up to Cat, and I don't think Cat can handle that. I think Cat has proven that he is not the more elite Kentucky center. The more elite Kentucky big is Anthony frickin' Davis, because when Anthony Davis is healthy, he's the more elite center and more elite big than most players. That's the thing. That's the key. So if AD is healthy and goes out like I think he does, I don't think Cat is going to be able to stop him. And I don't think that this Timberwolves team is going to be able to stop this Lakers team. I really don't. Again, I talked about Anthony Edwards is a great player. Cat, of course, is great. And they have other key pieces. But some of the more key elements that you needed for this specific game are now out. So I don't have it being a blowout by any means, because I don't think the Lakers can actually blow out any team. I don't have the Lakers blowing any team out. I just don't. I just don't think that's a realistic situation. You don't see a lot of teams blowing other teams out nowadays anyways, especially if they're these teams that are still afloat. I don't think you're going to see any blowouts in the play-in tournament. So I don't think it's going to be a blowout, but I do have the Lakers winning 118-110, and that would move them into that 7th seed, and they would play the Grizzlies, which we'll get to in a second. But let's look at the alternative situation, which is by the off chance that they somehow lose, which again, I don't have any reason to think they will lose. Everything I just said is very much the reasons that I think they will actually win, because they have a lot of advantage over this Timberwolves team, especially now. But if they lose, when we look at the OKC versus the Pelicans game, everyone knows the Pels are going to win. Even without Zion, they are the more elite team than OKC. So we have OKC is out, and then it would be us versus the Pels. Again, with Zion out, I don't think the Pels can keep up with us, and even with Zion in, I'm not sure if they would be able to. There was a rumor he might try to make it back, but he's not going to. It's been, I think, officially dropped that he is going to keep working on that hamstring and he's going to sit out, which has been the biggest issue for that Pelicans team. But I will say this. Even if he was in, I still think we would take care of business, especially because it's the Pelicans. This is Anthony Davis's old team. He's ready to show up and show out, and especially if we lost to the Timberwolves, the Lakers would come out fighting, and I think that would be a big win. But I don't predict us having to be in that position. But if we did get in that position and we did beat the Pels, now we are looking at playing the Denver Nuggets in round 1. So we're going to look at our potential matchup, Lakers versus Grizzlies and Lakers versus Nuggets round 1, and we'll just go through that really quickly to finish off today's episode. So looking at the most possible playoff matchup for round 1, in my opinion, for the Lakers is the Lakers versus the Grizzlies. Now, here's what I'll say about the Grizzlies. The Memphis Grizzlies are that team that people either love or hate, and you really only love them if you're with them. You don't just like them as a casual basketball fan. I appreciate that. I respect that. Some of the extra stuff, like the gun situation with Ja and all that other stuff, and the Dylan Brooks comments, and just the back and forth in the media, I get it. It's a little bit much, but they have become a team that is just, it reminds me of like a team that you either love or you absolutely can't stand, and that's exciting. I like that. It gives us a team to watch, no matter if you're watching for them or against them. So I'm really kind of excited to see that. Now, when we look at the season series, we actually won 2 out of 3 of the season games, and we won the regular season series. And the first matchup was on January 20th, and we were not a complete team at that point, and we won. It was by 1 point, but we did win. We did win that game, and we won our game in March against them as well by 9 points. So I will say this, when we look at that, it gives us a lot of confidence. It gives me a lot of confidence because it shows that we have beat this team more than once during the regular season when we didn't even have this team. The last time we played them on March 7th, we didn't have our entire team in. We didn't have our entire team like it is now. The way we have our team at this moment is just very, very, very strong and very ready. We were one of those teams, I've talked about this before, those momentum, end of the season momentum teams, where if you win your last 2 or 3 games, you are going into the play-in or the playoffs with so much more momentum than a team that did not. And again, the Grizzlies also had a very good momentum going into the end of the season. So the Lakers and the Grizzlies are pretty evenly matched up in that regards. They both had very good ends to their season. They both powered through different struggles, different things, and here they are. And people also forget, I think it was the first matchup on January 20th. Not Skip. Oh my goodness, I'm mixing Undisputed host up. Shannon Sharp was at the Los Angeles Lakers game sitting courtside, and there was a thing with the Grizzlies and him and a whole altercation, and it was just, there was a meme made out of it, and it was funny. It was funny, he pulled up in his, the sweater. Shannon Sharp always has on those nice sweaters. He's got a good sense of fashion, to be honest with you. Sometimes I just watch Undisputed to see what he has on that day because he's always pulling up with something on. But I'll say this, I think, in my personal opinion, I think that kind of sparked a little rivalry. I don't think people are really looking at LA versus Memphis as a rivalry, but I think we should start because there's definitely a little bit of tension, a little bit of there's a little bit of heat going on between these two teams. And anytime LeBron James is on a team, there's always going to be heat, especially in the playoffs from the team you're going up against, because that is just the ultimate playoff matchup for most teams and most players is matching up against LeBron James. So that brings a little extra level of energy and a little extra level of maybe aggressiveness from the other team. And people also forget that even last season, the Grizzlies were chirping at us and chirping at LeBron. And LeBron got sick of it and was like, I'm tired of this. You guys can't just disrespect me anymore. So there's been a couple of incidences and things that have made this a mini rivalry. And I'm excited. I hope they match up with them. When we look at the actual matchup itself, the Grizzlies lost a key piece down low, which would be Steven Adams. Steven Adams, again, they do have other players that can definitely pull up and still make a difference, but Steven Adams, with that knee injury, I truly feel as if he is out for sure. I don't think there's any way. I mean, if they make it deep, there's a rumor that they might, but I'm pretty sure he's out. And so with him out, one of the players that is definitely capable of helping lock down AD and lock down the Lakers big men, with him out, of course, we've got the G League Rookie of the Year, Kenneth Lofton Jr. signed by the Memphis Grizzlies. This was a smart signing. You need to have someone to come in and not replace. You can't replace Steven Adams, but you need someone to come in and at least help hold down the fort. And I think that's what they're trying to do. But Anthony Davis is going to bully this kid. I mean, Anthony Davis is going to bully anyone they try to put on him. If Anthony Davis is healthy, it's going to be bully season. I am predicting that he is going to bully some people and body some people in these playoffs if his body is able to do so, which to be determined. As always, because you could never tell with him. He could literally step onto the court and just be going out for warm-ups, and then the next thing you know, he's on the ground holding his knee. It's Anthony Davis. Come on now. But here's the deal. The biggest thing that the Grizzlies have, and I'm not going to say over us, but as an advantage, the biggest thing is Ja Morant. He is the player that turned that culture around on that team. He made that team what it is now. He is the leader, and he's young. He's 23 years old. This kid's 1 year older than me, and he's leading this NBA organization, and he's the face of it, and he's growing, and whatever happened with the gun and all that, it's fine. That's in the past, but he has shown, even especially since then, who he is. Because he's came back, led the team, and put up monster performances to finish this season out for the Grizzlies and put them in a really good spot. So Ja Morant's that guy. But the key to slowing down someone like him is putting someone that can match his energy and his speed. And we have a couple of players. Okay, again, we just signed one. Shaquille Harrison is going to be a huge, huge piece. Now, is Shaquille Harrison going to start? I really doubt that. Is he going to get a lot of minutes? I don't think he's going to get a lot. But he is going to go in, and when he is on the court, he is going to probably be one of those players that is tasked with trying to slow Ja Morant down. You maybe not stop him, because can you really stop Ja? Not really, but you can slow him. Another player that absolutely can keep up with Ja is Dennis Schroeder. Dennis Schroeder is a quick guard that is aggressive and in your face, and Ja likes to find that little place to go. He likes that little lane that he'll get through and he'll be quick through, and Dennis Schroeder will be right with him to at least not allow an easy bucket. So the key is to stop or at least slow Ja Morant. That's one of the biggest keys. Everything else is going to fall in place. Pound for pound, I truly believe the Los Angeles Lakers are a better team than the Memphis Grizzlies. But obviously, the Grizzlies had a better regular season. I just believe where the team we are now, had we had this team at the beginning of the season, we would be a way better team record-wise. I mean, that's obvious. That's extremely obvious. We'd be a way better team now with the roster we have now. If we had it the whole season or at least longer, we'd be a way better team. But the Los Angeles Lakers are only 8 wins behind the Memphis Grizzlies. So we really did turn things around and start with the team we have now. We started to look more like one of those top-end teams. We aren't, obviously, record-wise. I can't pretend like we are, and I'm not even going to try to. But we are looking more like that team, and I think that we might have a little bit more experience as a whole on our team, playoff-wise, and that will go the distance because the Grizzlies do not really have that playoff experience as a team. Like, yes, they've been there, but they don't have enough as an entire team for it to really make a difference. I truly believe the Lakers have enough full playoff experience that factor will play a huge part. So when it comes to the series itself, I think it's going to be extremely exciting. It's not going to be a cakewalk for either teams. I think we're going to see a back and forth series, but I do have the Lakers winning in 6. I have the Lakers beating the Grizzlies in 6 for the sole purpose that again, Steven Adams is out. I know he's not maybe who he was when he was with OKC, but he is still a solid player, and he was going to be one of those pieces that's trying to slow Anthony Davis down. With him out, of course, they still have Dylan. They've got other players that are defensive masterminds that can keep up and that can help, but I don't think they're going to be able to stop AD. And if you do put your guys on AD and try to really focus in on him and make him the focal point, well, you're leaving LeBron James open. You're leaving D'Angelo Russell open. You're leaving all these other players open. So they can't focus all their attention on AD. And with Adams out, one of those specialized, personalized players that was supposed to be there for that, him being out, I get it. They signed that kid from the G League. He won G League Rookie of the Year. So far, so good. I do think that he's going to make a difference for that team, but I just feel like the Lakers have a little bit more going for them versus this team, and I think that they will end up on top in 6. So I have them winning in 6 versus the Grizzlies in round 1, if that is the path that we end up going on. Our other potential matchup is if we do fall to that 8th seed, we would play the Nuggets. Now, here's the thing about the Nuggets. Say what you want about the Suns. Yes, they went on that end of the season run with Kevin Durant, and they looked great. But they were not the best team in the West the whole season. As a matter of fact, they were sitting around 6th, 7th, and 8th for a long time. Kevin Durant helped them get that boost they needed, and they just started playing better basketball as a whole, much like that Boston Celtics team of last season when they had a slow start but picked it up. That's kind of what the Suns did even without KD. But with KD, obviously, I mean, come on now. That's just the cheat code right there. But the Nuggets were the best team in the West the whole season consistently. There's only 2 50-win teams in the West, and they are one of them, and the other is the team we just talked about in the Grizzlies. But here's the thing about the Nuggets. They're the best team in the West. No one wants to go up against the number 1 seed in the playoffs, ever. That's like you don't want to do that. But when we look at the Lakers versus the Nuggets matchup, this is what I'm going to say. The Lakers versus the Nuggets have given us very exciting games and a very exciting series. Most recently, that Western Conference Finals in the bubble. I mean, we just beat them out of a shot for them getting their first title. So, you know what? Like, this is more of a rivalry, more of a game that means a little bit more because we've been with them. We've been up with them, up against them, and we literally just went head-to-head for the Western Conference title just, 3 years ago. So it's kind of cool to see that we might get a chance to come back and full circle, be back and play them in a 7-game series, but I would prefer it not be the first round. That's just my thing. Usually, I will say that the teams that are first seeded in the first round, they either are lackadaisical and they let the other team at least make it a close series, or they just sweep right away. I don't think it's going to go either way. To be honest, I don't think it's going to go either way. I think that the Nuggets and the Lakers is going to be determined by a much simpler factor. The team that wins the first game is going to win the series. And I don't want to just sit here like I'm some crazy whatever, like, oh yeah, I'm predicted. But no, the reason I say that is both teams rely on pace and rely on momentum. And if you are the Lakers and you lose to the one-seeded Nuggets, that's a blow to your momentum. You're like, shoot, we made it all the way here, but we just dropped a game. If you're the Nuggets and you lose to the 8th-seeded Lakers, it's vice versa. So whoever loses is going to be, in my personal opinion, in a slump. And I hope that doesn't happen if it's the Lakers that end up losing that game one. But I think that it's going to be determined by who wins the first game. Whatever team wins the first game and sets the tone for that series is going to be the one that wins. And it could be either the Lakers or the Nuggets, honestly. I don't know. I think it's going to be whoever wins that first one. Another thing is, I don't think it's going to be a sweep. I don't think that, say, the Nuggets win the first one, I don't think they're just going to sweep us. I just think the team that sets the pace is going to be in the driver's seat more comfortably. And I think the Nuggets, while they're a great team and the best regular season team in the West, I don't know if that's going to transfer over to playoffs because it hasn't always transferred over. We have seen it, whether it be injury-wise or otherwise, we've seen it not transfer over. So my thing here is I think that they absolutely are going to be a factor and a force in these playoffs. But if we go up against them round one and we somehow, show up and show out in the first game of the series and win and have a really solid game, I don't think there's any reason to believe we can't take the number 1 seeded Nuggets down. And if the number 8 Los Angeles Lakers beat the number 1 Nuggets, you better watch out. I don't want to play them. I'd rather play the Grizzlies. I think that I do have us beating the Grizzlies a little more realistically than the Nuggets, but I don't know. I think it could be a really exciting game. So either way, no matter who we play, it's great to finally see a potential for more Lakers basketball. Well, guys, that wraps up another episode of Purple and Gold Zone. Hopefully next episode, we're talking even more playoff basketball. But in the meantime, I hope you guys enjoyed, and go Lakers.